All right, this is Koosh. Weekend market update time. We're going to do Bitcoin. We're going to do ETH. Obviously, ETH had a big week, and we did this one a few weeks ago, made a pretty bold statement then. So we're going to follow up on that. SPY and USDT. That's it. Actually, I'll add in the Bitcoin miners really quickly too, and we'll call that an agenda. So, not a surprise, the chart I pretty much have started out with for the last, several months, and why I think a lot of analysts have had trouble with just maintaining a bullish bias and not doing the opposite of what everybody does, where as price goes down in an uptrend, they say things like you get cautious and um, whereas it's really the opposite is, in a strong uptrend, uh, pullbacks have been the maximum opportunity zone for gaining exposure. If you don't have exposure, for potentially looking at other proxies, things like that. So again, you all know me. I'm a bit of I kind of march to the beat of my own drum when it comes to my analysis and don't like to fall into any specific camps. Um, the camp that I'm in is the one that price leads me, is guiding me to. And what we've had in front of us essentially for with the illustration I'm sharing here is one of the largest reaccumulation structures Bitcoin has ever seen in the history of the asset class. And so I've contended that everything should be opposite, whereas it's the opposite. People the entire time have been lowering targets. People the entire time have been calling tops along the way. And the reality of the situation is indicators can't do anything for us. Okay, they're all rear looking. They're looking at data that happened in the past, and there's a formula, and the indicator then is a result essentially of the inputs in that formula in the equation. But it's all rear view data. It's not forward looking. Price is the strongest indicator. It always is for me. And just as a reminder, we know I'm not a financial advisor. Don't take what I'm saying as financial advice. All the things I talk about could go up, they could go down, they could go sideways. I'm just here for kind of an educating perspective, give you my thoughts and my convictions. What is a price indicator? What has that been telling us? That tells us that we've got one of the largest consolidation, like reaccumulation consolidation periods. Again, like I said, I'm saying that we've ever seen. And so the bias needs to be that once this is broken out of and we simply get a check back, this should be because this is expansion. This is the expansive phase of the market. This is considered the consolidative phase of the market. So it's like a spring, consolidating in a spring. What happens when the energy is released in the spring and it's finally released? Well, you'd expect to see the energy at least released with the same amount of force, if not greater than the energy that came into the move. And so a lot of that, as well as Fibbo, as well as Elliott Wave, as well as there's a few different models that I've got that have me arrive at certain price targets that I've shared along the way. But for all intents and purposes, it's right here. Like this is a path that I've had up here for the better part of a couple months since our lows, and that's kind of where I think we're going here. I think we're going 180 to 200 before, 30, 20, 30, 40% pullback, whatever it may be, and then a blow off into 350, 360. Uh, wouldn't surprise me there. Wouldn't surprise me if it doubled off that too. And it hits my target and then we double. Why do I say that? Because it's happened to me twice where I've had very aggressive targets in the past on things that enter hyper acceleration. And MicroStrategy is one of them. I was one of the only analysts projecting MicroStrategy prices that are half of where they were, mind you, when it hit its high in November, and people were calling me crazy. And so it hit my high end target and doubled. Riot did the same thing in 2021. And so again, that's why I keep saying to my audience, to my viewers, I won't be surprised if my targets end up being conservative. It's because of what I've learned in terms of my analysis in the past. Blow off phases can be far more irrational and exuberant than we're giving ourselves credit for. And mind you, we haven't had any real retail participation, in my opinion, in this bull run. I think retail arrives at 150. I think they are going to call you a hero, and then they're going to call you their grief counselor after the first. If you're really into Bitcoin like I am and talk about it all the time, and then some of those people may buy the dip, and then once retail experiences the first euphoric market, that's when I think we're potentially close to a cycle. I don't even like to say a cycle top because now I'm even thinking I've got a couple different thoughts in terms of where we go if and when we hit some of these high-end targets, but that's a video for another day. Maybe I'll do a members video on that. All right, ETH. Oh, no, 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 no. I'm sorry. The most important part of this analysis I haven't done yet. The daily chart on the daily chart, something important happened last week, okay? Let me get rid of this image. And I've got these red lines, these vertical red lines here for a reason, okay? For 1, 2, 3, 4, and now we have 5 that happened last week. What are these lines? These are lines where relative strength on Bitcoin gets to overbought, a sustained overbought level, and stays there for at least a day and a half, 2 days. What has happened, and RSI is measured by the bottom here, okay? Let me get this out of the way. We've got one here, we've got one here, we've got one here, we've got one. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 instances in the past. The aggregate gain forward prior to the next correction is 100% from that current price where RSI crosses 70. Now, again, this doesn't guarantee, for some of the newer folks that don't know me, there's no guarantee in any of this stuff, right? That's just what's been the average aggregate gain. And so from where we are today, if we just take an aggregate gain forward looking prior to our next correction, what does that indicate? It indicates very closely, go back to the weekly chart, it indicates very closely what I've got in terms of a projection. And that's kind of one of the reasons why I have it here, $180,000, $190,000 Bitcoin. And so as people are looking for, I'm sure people are looking for pullbacks here, right? Because it's come so far. It's come so far. I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure we get a material pullback here. The data suggests, 1, 2, 3, 3 more weeks. That instance, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 more weeks of forward price action that increase 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the data suggests you're not getting a good pullback yet. We'll see. I'm sure this time is different. ETH. We were looking for a major reaction. We called the bottom here back a few weeks ago, and this was a spring sweep all day. This is exactly what you want to see in a spring sweep when the news is the worst. And remember the tariff news? Remember what I was saying? That things it's not how market works, in my opinion, where the news is the worst and you're actually going to go down more. It was the opposite in my mind. When the news is the worst, that has all the hallmarks of a 1, 2 type correction. 2, it's over, right? 1, 2, 2, it's over. COVID lows, 2, it was over. In fact, it was the beginning, right? In fact, it was the opposite. And so that was a thought here on ETH. And structurally, we had a sweep of this entire range. We're talking about a range, a reaccumulation range, mind you. This is the same concept as Bitcoin. It's just early, right? So this is a reaccumulation. This is a reaccumulation. This is what price is telling us, right? This is no indicator. This is a reaccumulation. This is a reaccumulation. You had a buying climax, then you had an upthrust up here, but in essence, we had a reaccumulation, then expansion. Okay. And so when we look at reaccumulations, what are one of the hallmarks of the nastier type of reaccumulations? You get, these nasty retests, and you kind of got a sweep here of all the lows that came in from March 2023, and then violent reversal to the tune of so far 80% in the last 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks in the last month. And so I'm sure we're getting a retracement here, right? We have to because it came 80% in 4 weeks. Again, I'm not so sure. This is the range, okay? And then there's a reason why I have these drawings up. This is the range. I now have a new line up here. It's this midline, and it's recaptured that midline. It's recaptured the midline of that range. What happened the last time we saw the same characteristics in the market, where you had this sweep, okay, of the lows that came before. This was COVID, same concept, right? The news was awful, awful there, much like the tariff news. Reclaim the midline, midpoint of this channel, and it just consolidated before challenging the top end of that range. And so sure, you could get, 5-10% consolidation type of event here after the midline reclaim, but we've got the 30-week in front of us. I wouldn't be surprised if we took one more move up to the 3,100 level, cloud, come back, compress between the 30-week in that zone to consolidate for a few weeks, and then we make a move, okay? To the top end of this range, and then if we get a breakout there, which is what I'm forecasting, the target on ETH for me is 13,712. All right, that's ETH. SPY. Bears have a real problem here with SPY in the traditional markets. Friday was a really big day. Why was it? And I don't like saying these kinds of things because days, I'm not a day trader, you know that. Day trading is a recipe, or just trading a lot's a recipe, I think, for most people to lose money. But that being said, the Ichimoku cloud on the day rejected Thursday. Okay. Friday, we opened up in it and held in the cloud. That's a significant technical achievement. Okay. Mind you, when since March, the cloud has been right on top of us. And now we're in it. Now it's starting to turn green. And now we're consolidating it. I wouldn't be surprised to see some consolidation in here. I don't think I get this pullback for the right shoulder. I think we're going to 620 is the next move. And so that's what SPY is looking like to me. USDT, we know that I've been looking at this for a while. On the weekly, I'd noted some major technical achievements on USDT caused me to get really bullish in my stance and aggressively position in miners. Here, when we got the rejection, we have the 100. Let me pull up the 100-week simple moving average. That was rejected. Okay, this zone, the cloud was rejected. I noted to the members on the day where we had this bear flag forming right before Bitcoin's next big move. That was a bear flag under the cloud, move down, consolidation here. I'm expecting, maybe another little bear flag, but continuation down and the markets to continue to move up. So USDT looking good for continuation down, which is good for the crypto markets. WGMI, another technical achievement was achieved here in the mining index. Slowly but surely, the mining index is coming back. It doesn't feel like it, but WGMI is up 40% since the lows. And we're in the cloud for the first time from the underside since September 2024. Okay. That was the start of September 2024 was the start of that impulse. I believe this is the start of the next impulse. Doesn't mean we can't get pullbacks in the cloud prior to resumption. But what we also have here on RSI is one of the most powerful setups I see in markets, and that has nothing to do with price. It has to do with power and compression. And that's this massive cup that we see here on RSI. That's compression. This is compression in the form of energy, in the form of power, in the form of the downtrend, in the form of if and when this releases to the upside. I think we see the biggest impulse we've seen. The last time we saw compression similar to that was back in 2023, and the miners went from 8 to 22 index. So kind of similarly looks like this setup to me. Same concept, breached the cloud on the underside and then went parabolic in the course of the next couple months. So mining index looking good. Folks, hope everyone had a great weekend. Happy Mother's Day and take care.